Hello and welcome to Culture Shark, a live stream about all things pop culture. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and today we are discussing Arcane Season 2, Act 2, Part 2, Part 2, Part what it's this next part.
Yes, yes. It's the next part of the next part.
Right. So I'm a little bit under the weather. So if you've watched our streams before, you know that usually that affects my viewing. So uh don't take anything that I say that's too negative about the show because I was pretty sick yesterday. So, uh,
Oh man, I didn't realize that, man. Okay.
well, it's just part of the show that I was like, I'm not feeling this, but the
Yeah,
rest of that was great. So we'll get
yeah.
to that. Um, so let's hop into episode 4. There's a little bit of a time jump, and
Yes.
I wouldn't call them a cult, but Jinx has developed a following where everybody's dyeing their hair blue,
hmm
and
it's more of a revolution. It like I wouldn't call. Um, I don't know. I wouldn't call. I'm trying to think of what's his name? William Wallace. It's kind of like that. It's a revolution. Like everyone started painting their face half blue, half red.
mhm.
So yeah, it's more like that. Definitely not a cult. Well, there is a cult, but it's not this one. um,
Sure, yeah, we'll get to the other cult here in a minute, but yeah, Jinx has become a revolutionary figure, and she kind of wants nothing to do with it. she's
yeah.
just she's kind of like she has lost her way. She doesn't know what to do next, and I guess that was part of what I didn't like was I like the episode to be about Jinx and Vi and Vander and I like that storyline. And when you're dwelling on Caitlyn and Bessa and all those characters, I kind of get bored. I felt like this episode took a bit of time to get going.
Well, I mean, if this episode really reminded me of episode 4 of season 1,
Mm-hmm.
um, because episode 4 of season 1 also had no sign of Vi anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I actually particularly like it because it's one of those things where like this tragedy happens, and I said this last week and I will say it again this week. The main character of this show, if I had to pick one, it is Vi. Um, and so our a tragedy happens, and then our hero is nowhere to be found. Um, and I like that. I like it because of where we find her. I think that's very important, and we'll get to that in episode 5. But I enjoy this episode because it reflects the same episode in season 1. Um, and so I very much like this. I do like the. I thought doing the revolution recap in like a graffiti style was just I love that. I love the art style of this show so much.
Have you
Uh,
seen the music video?
for Paint the
Paint the
Town Blue.
Town Blue? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that came out before Worlds, actually. That music
Yeah.
video.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. Oh, there was one thing that I noticed that I had never noticed before, and I need to go back and watch because I'm like, have they been doing this the whole time? And I just haven't noticed. They edit, or not edit. They animate water and liquid so weird in this show, where like it is maybe e- everything is at weird frames, but liquid specifically, like if Mbess is drinking like a wine or something like that, the wine is animated at like 5 frames a second. It's really cool. um But
So
yeah, like I'll always talk about the animation in the show because I think it's one of the strongest parts.
I don't have a whole lot to say about the beginning of this episode. Just that Isha is kind of really looking up to Jinx and wants to be Jinx and is copying everything she does. And it is like Jinx has found a new sister, is what it
Hmm.
is basically.
Yes.
Um, and now Jinx's role has flipped, where now she is she's trying to be the responsible one, but she doesn't quite know how to do it.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and we'll see more of that play out as the episodes go on. Um, the I'll just call them the bad guys. I can't remember what they're called. They and Bessa's crew. They stop a protest and arrest a bunch of people, and Isha is one of the ones that gets arrested. And so Jinx is going to go do a rescue mission with what's the one armed girl's name? So Sevica.
Sevica. Yes.
Yeah, and this is where the episode picked up for me. Once this started happening, I was like, okay, I'm in. But just that first 20 minutes or 15 minutes, I was just not feeling this one. I don't know.
I so first thing, I do think that you watch it again and you're not sick. I think you'll enjoy it more. But at the
Hmm.
same time, I also think it is a little intentional,
Yeah, yeah.
because essentially, and this is the strange thing because I mean I was just ready for Jinx to be the bad guy of the season,
Hmm.
um, but I mean it's so weird how like I'm instantly, as soon as you have a regime that is abusing their power, I immediately switch sides. um, and so I think what you were feeling was the same thing that Isha was feeling, the same thing that Sevica was feeling. You were feeling frustration of Jinx's indifference or Jinx's lack of
Probably.
yeah. So I mean I think part of it is you're sick and I think you'll enjoy it better on rewatch, but another part of it I think it is very very intentional.
Yeah. And Jinx, she obviously has PTSD, and Vi does too, to a point. Um,
I think
and
I think they both have an equal amount. I think Vi just hides it better.
yeah, she punches things to deal with it.
Right.
And so it's interesting that she seems to be doing much better this episode. Then you'll see some of the triggers start to pop up that starts making her spaz out. And so I think Silco being gone is a big part of that. Is that she's not having this devil whispering in her ear all the time.
Yeah. There's that, and I think also the presence of Isha
Yes.
is helping her because I think she essentially she lost a sister, gained she lost a sister and a father, and then she gained a father, lost that father, and then gained a sister.
Yeah. So I think the best scene was where she was trying to convince the guard that she was Jinx, and the guard was not having it.
What's wrong with my pants?
And I think that's really funny, but it's true. If everybody's dyed their hair blue,
Yeah.
you're gonna think there's all these legends about Jinx. You're not gonna think this little scrawny girl is the real Jinx.
Well, yeah, and it's also like it's been a while since I've seen it, which is ironic because November 5th was literally like what 2 weeks ago at this point.
We were all a
Uh,
little distracted like this past November 5th.
well, honestly, I think this movie would have been fitting to watch that
Oh
November 5th,
yeah, yeah,
but it's like V for Vendetta, where everyone's wearing the Guy Fawkes mask. The and I can't remember which one it is because the comic and the comic and the movie have two different messages of why everybody wears the Guy Fawkes mask.
hmm
One of them is that V is everyone, and one of them is that anyone can be V. Um, and so I can't remember which one the movie is and which one the comic is. Um, but essentially, I think this one really is, with the blue hair. Uh, Jinx is everyone. The whole point is to, I guess, like, if we are all Jinx, then the movement never dies. Even if Jinx is arrested, hopefully everyone else is arrested before Jinx, in a revolution, so that way the true symbol stays alive. But even if Jinx were to fall, we are all Jinx, and that's the way I took it with the blue hair. Now I
Mhm.
will say with Isha, it is strictly because Isha loves Jinx. Like everyone else is doing it because they love Jinx as the idea. Isha
Mhm.
loves Jinx as a person, and
Right.
that's why she does it.
Yeah. Um, so we also have I can't remember how to pronounce the name. Singed, is that how you say his name?
Singed, yeah.
Singed. So he's the mad scientist dude that we saw Silco dealing with last season, and he's the one. We'll just go ahead and say it. It's Vander. That he was experimenting on Vander's body, um, and he is merging it with. I can't remember if they're called dual wolves or something. There's a term.
Yeah,
Um, and when he gets captured, he cuts his hand and starts leaving a trail of blood, which activates Vander. Who? What's his name now? Warwick. Is that the name of the wolf?
Warwick, yes. So in the game, he's Warwick. I don't think they ever call him Warwick in the show, but we all know that's Warwick.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I heard someone say, well, if he's activated by blood, you mean no one's ever cut their hands? I think it was specifically Singe's blood was
yes.
the activator, and then once he's awake, then City blood at that point.
Yeah, yeah. Which, let's get back to the animation. The entire episode with the first person view of Warwick,
Hmm.
fantastic.
Yeah, we mentioned it last episode, but they are taking a lot more risks with the animation. It's a lot of fun. Um, yeah, so we get the jailbreak, we get the fun scenes with Jinx dressed up as a guard, and then she's rescuing everybody, and then Warwick shows up, and Warwick's arrival is pretty cool, where the
Yeah.
trolley is like damaged, and Bessa knows something's wrong. I wish we had gotten
Uh,
to see the Ambessa
mhm.
Warwick fight right there, but
I gotta be honest. There was a part of me that's like, I mean, like, this might be that might be how Ambessa dies. I
that's
don't
what
know.
I was
Yeah,
thinking
I don't know.
also.
I don't know. I don't like. Is Singed the bad guy? Is the whole show about Warwick?
Yeah,
Like
it did make sense for her to die story wise, but I thought, oh yeah, she could die at any second here.
yeah. Um, which Uh, let's turn the clock back before we get to the full Warwick reveal. We're also having to deal with, and I know we probably skipped over this because you said you're not as interested in it. I am. So we're also following up with Caitlin, who
Hmm.
has become pretty much commander of martial law, which I was under the impression that like Caitlyn was going to be like the leader, and then Ambessa was going to be like her Jafar, like
Yeah,
her advice. But it seems that Ambessa is the leader above Caitlyn, because she is general and Caitlyn is commander. Which, forgive me, but I don't know military ranking that well.
right.
um,
So we also see that she's down in a relationship with Maddie Nolan, and
yes.
um, do you trust Maddie now?
Um, I don't think I distrust her.
You don't think
Um,
she's like a spy for Ambessa or something?
no, I think that I think if anything, um, the only reason that I could think about uh, uh, Maddie being a spy is just the odds of all three of all three females on Caitlyn's task force being lesbians. That's the only thing that I would question. But other than that, I think that it's more of just like Maddie's the rebound.
I could see that, I
Yeah,
guess, but
yeah.
I just saw that theory float around, so I was going to throw it in there. See
I
what you thought.
I I could see that as well. Especially, let's say that Maddie is kind of like Vander, and then turns out that Maddie is like someone else entirely. Um, but yeah, as of right now, I'm not suspicious. Because I think this takes place. I think that we could say anywhere between 3 to 6 months after Act One.
Yeah, she did say it was months later. So
So
that was established. Yeah.
yeah, and so 3 to 6 months. Yeah, that's about the time for a rebound, you know. um, but yes, so eventually, uh, they get word of the attack that happened uh, on uh, on the prison, which brings us back to um, them trying to save, and essentially they're trying to save everybody, not just Isha. Because they open up all the doors, or at least all but one door, which I don't know why.
Well,
Um,
Singe shut the door. You talk about Singe or Isha's cage?
Singed.
He shut his door because he knew that Warwick was coming.
Oh, okay, yeah, no,
Yeah,
that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. He shut his cage. He's like,
Yeah,
nope, nope.
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Everyone runs, uh, and then Warwick comes in, and it's exactly what we were hoping it was going to be. Like, as far as just a giant biomechanical werewolf,
Hmm.
just completely decimating uh, the Piltover forces.
Yeah, yeah,
Not Noxian. That's the name of Ambessa's people.
yeah.
Noxian.
So we see Jinx confront him, and um, we he has a moment where I can't remember what she says, but he recognizes her.
She doesn't say anything. Like, she says something like "Get out of here" because Sevica takes Isha away.
Oh, she
Um,
calls him the whatever the beetle was named at the beginning. You're no squishmaw or whatever. That's what she said.
oh, okay, gotcha. But the way I took it was uh, the way she was acting. Vander saw powder. Is the way I took it. It really had nothing to do with anything she said. It had to do with more with how she was acting.
Hmm.
Um, and it ends with powder.
Yep, yep, yep.
And cut to black. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. And so that brings us to the next episode. We get like a
Blisters and bedrock.
yes, and we get like a montage, a Fight Club montage of Vi just fighting everybody. Her and her drunken guard friend, or he's kind of watching over. Then he guy and just disappears for the rest of the episode, but he is there.
So he's actually in that. He's actually not there. He doesn't just disappear in that montage. Um, she at least from what I got from the montage, she basically pushes him away.
Yeah,
So it's definitely not like oh, where did he go, or he was there for the montage and now he's not there. No, she, in her grief, she pushes him away.
yeah, yeah. I think it's cool the image that we have up that the dual wolves are on the back of Vi's jacket. That's fun.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's cool. So I was saying before, the reason that I like episode 4 is how it reflects the last is how Vi's journey reflects the last season. essentially, we find her in a very similar spot that we did in episode 5 of season 1.
Yeah, she's at rock bottom again.
Yeah. She, uh, that's a thing. Like, and you know what it is? It it shows how much Caitlyn has an impact on her
Mhm.
because after after the tragedy of Powder killing all their friends and Vander and all that, she leaves and she's alone. She hits rock bottom.
Yep.
Then we have the tragedy that is Jinx destroying, killing the council, uh, and then followed by the tragedy um, of the Chem Baroness attack on the Memoriam. She does not fall back into the she does not fall back into the abyss because she has Caitlyn. And then we have the tragedy of the release of the Gray being released, and uh, her and Caitlyn's falling out. Now she's back at rock bottom because she doesn't have Caitlyn anymore.
Yeah, and Caitlyn wanting to shoot Isha did not
Yes,
sit well with Vi.
yes.
It's kind of was like, do I even really know this person?
Right,
Um,
exactly.
so yeah, she's not in a great place. But now here's her sister showing up in her, I guess, dressing room or whatever you would call it, her locker room, and I do like that Jinx has written her name on her face. Like, why?
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, the fact that it's backwards because she was looking in the
Yeah,
mirror and did it backwards.
yeah. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. How do you feel about because this time her fall is very on the nose. Like she is dressed up for the black parade, you know.
Mhm.
She loves My Chemical Romance. How do you feel about it being that on the nose?
So there were times when I was watching this that I felt like certain things were not happening for the sake of the story, but because they happened in the game. Like this is a different Vice kid, so we gotta slip it in the show somehow or
Hmm.
something. So I there was a couple moments like that where I was kind of like, okay, is this a game thing and that's why they're doing this or what? But
I
it
so
also parallels with Jinx as everybody's painting their hair blue and
that's
she's painting
true.
her black. Like she's not taking a side.
She's a big fan of Rolling Stones.
Yeah, yeah.
So speaking of skins, there is a thing. I'll go ahead and bring it up because I don't know if I'll bring it up later. But in episode 6, Volcano Warwick, that is in the games.
Okay, I was wondering that if that was one of his game abilities with the lava and magma coming out and all that.
Uh, I don't know if it's one of his abilities. It's definitely a skin. But even then, like if it's just a skin, it still looks really cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Rule of cool is something that I abide by. But yeah, back to episode 5. Blisters and Bedrock. Um, Jinx and Isha go to find Vi. Uh, because hey, we found our dad and we got to help him. And obviously, Jinx is like, "Shut up."
Oh yeah, Vi's like, I don't believe you. Yeah.
Yeah, Vi says, "Shut up. You killed him. He's
Yeah,
dead."
you're crazy. You're a nutbag. What are you? Yeah.
Um, and so I now let me ask you this. I assume that you're just based on what you like. Um, that this episode had you from the get go, right?
Oh yeah, I was into
Okay,
this episode.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Um,
I was 5 and 5 and 6. It was just episode 4 where I was just kind of like, you're not grabbing me. But
um, but
so we get they go down these mines where it's like the clap on mine where sounds activate the lights.
yeah,
Somebody said that might be like the fog of war in the game. It gets brighter
Oh,
where they walk and stuff.
that's great. I didn't
Yeah,
even think about that, but that's great.
yeah, yeah. Um, so we get another Vi
Oh,
versus Jinx fight right here.
real quick,
Uh huh.
I want to mention a gag that happened before that it's why I love Jinx, and I think at this point, I really wish that we could go back to this type of Harley Quinn, um, because she's like she eats things. She's like it's not toxic, I think,
I think, yeah,
and she's already eating it.
right. Yeah.
um, yeah. What I'm trying to think about it. What triggers the this fight? I can't remember.
What triggers this fight? I think it was that I think she was just saying I could beat you at a fight if you didn't have those fists on or whatever.
Oh yeah,
And she
that's
just drops
right.
the fists and goes in.
That's right. Yeah. I can't remember if like someone said something, but no, it's just them being sisters.
Yeah, yeah. And Isha jumps in and Isha gets hurt. And so I think this is Vi is seeing her sister and Isha now, the little girl that hurt, that shouldn't be here. Um and and Jinx wasn't really fighting back that much during that fight. I think she was. It was almost like she was letting Vi get some anger out. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but
I don't think so. I think that in a show like this, I believe everything's intentional.
yeah. Um. So Warwick. Well, no. Before that, they find like a mining cabin, and they find a letter from Silco, or it was from Vander to Silco,
And
and
we'll definitely need to talk about that because I think that was actually the best scene in the episode. We'll get there.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. But Jinx was realizing, oh, if only they had patched things up, none of this would have happened. All this hurt
mhm.
and tragedy could have been avoided. Um,
And
so
I don't exactly know about that because from what I can tell, all of this goes back to Singed more than anyone else. And I think he did what he did before he even met Silco.
that and Jace was the one that figured out the hex secret. It wasn't Victor. It was Jace.
Yeah.
He was already on his path also. So yeah, I don't think things would have changed as much as she thinks.
I do think that the combined efforts of Vander and Silco together would have made things more peaceful, but I think that Shimmer Addiction and Chem Barons would still exist.
Yeah.
But as far as their own familial interpersonal issues, probably not as bad.
Yep. So when they had their fight, Isha bloodies her nose, and that's what summons Warwick. And so when Warwick charges in, Jinx wants nothing to do with it, but Vi just goes in to start fighting. And some pretty cool scenes where you can see like his like internal bones and organs when she's punching him and stuff. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
And so while that fight is happening, let's go ahead and move back over to because we actually have a couple more stories happening this episode. So let's move on to Ambessa and Caitlin interrogating Singed. Uh, so they are, uh, they're just interrogating him, trying to figure out, uh, like who that was, why he's doing what he's doing, and eventually Ambessa says, "This is the greatest weapon that I have ever seen." So essentially she teams up with Singed to get what I think Caitlin call because she doesn't know. She just calls Vander um, a biomechanical weapon. because she doesn't exactly know. And we get information that Singed um, was actually was he a I think he was he wasn't a student, he was a professor
Hmm.
at the Alchemist Academy uh, that Victor went to,
Hmm.
and he was dismissed because he created Shimmer, which is the drug that Silco basically built his empire on. Um, and I don't know if you noticed something, but whenever they reveal that he created Shimmer, uh, the head of the blonde punker from like the first act of season one was in a jar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like he's sticking needles in his brain and stuff. So it's like Sinch doesn't waste resources, obviously.
Right.
I just thought that was a very interesting callback. Like you've been watching Babylon 5, and I always told you that the coolest part is like they set up stuff in season 1 that they don't pay off until season 4.
Hmm.
And so it's really cool to like have like that kind of callback to just a nothing character from season 1.
Right.
Um, and so then we find out the reason that he's doing all this, the creation of Shimmer, him like experimenting on Vander, creating Warwick, is because uh, he is attempting to save his daughter from some sort of terminal disease. But I like the way that Singed actually puts it, because he says I'm trying to heal her affliction, and they're like, what affliction is that? And he says the affliction that we all have, death. like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's such a good line. Um, and so they decide that they are going to uh, they're gonna Singed is gonna help Ambessa track down Warwick, uh, so that way they can essentially. I don't exactly know what it is, but honestly, at this point, when you have stuff like Shimmer and Hex Tech, it's just kind of magic and anything goes. There is something about Warwick that may or may not cause eternal life. Is what I got at
Yeah. So
least.
this is the daughter they are talking about, or at least people think it is. Oriana. She's a ballerina robot character from the games. So this may
Uh,
be the little girl in the
yes,
cartoon.
yes, yeah, yes. I believe. Okay, I didn't know that she was a character in the games.
Yeah.
I'm still new to the games, and there's so many champions that
Right.
I don't even know. But yeah, yeah, the daughter's name is Oriana. They do say that, so yeah, okay, that's cool. And was that a robot?
Yeah. She's a robot ballerina character you can play as.
Okay, yeah. So we might get that in Act Three. By the
Yeah.
way,
Apparently, there's a main bad guy of the Black Rose gang that's a big deal in the game, so we have not seen at
uh,
all.
yeah, that's LeBlanc. I'm definitely curious as to, you know what? Okay, so we just got done with Singe. Let's go ahead and move on to Mel. Um, Mel wakes up in this room. It kind of reminds me of the pit in Dark Knight Rises, where like it's a prison, but you can see the sky and it kind of taunts you.
Mhm. It looked to me like when you're looking from the ceiling and looking down, it looked like a rose.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So um, she discovers that she you know what and the thing is the stuff whenever we get to stuff with the Black Rose and what happened in the Hex Core, that's whenever I'm still not entirely sure what happened.
Hmm.
But Mel is under the impression that she killed her handmaiden. um and so uh she is just dealing with that, and then whenever she wakes up, she's actually talking to someone uh, who is also in this prison, uh, and he says some. I don't remember what the
Peacock people or something.
yeah, something like that. An old family joke, and a, and she says, "Step into the light," and it is her brother, Kino. Um, and Kino reveals that Ambessa, while traveling the world, fell in love and had an illegitimate child who has power, essentially, that the Black Rose is trying to harness. Um, and Mel doesn't believe this. Love was not her mother's MO,
Mm-hmm.
which it's one of those things where we have 3 episodes left, and I hope they can kind of pay that off, because right now Ambessa is just mwahaha, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Uh, I really need
She's a warmonger. That's what she is.
right, yeah, definitely, and I if I don't find anything else about her, she is no better than Obadiah Stane, and I need her to be better than Obadiah Stane as a villain.
Sure.
um, so I definitely hope that we learn more about what's going on, like falling in love, the loss of Kino, and how that affected her.
So we also may have a unreliable narrator here, though. Also,
That
um,
is that is true because um, apparently it turns out that this prison is actually a puzzle, and Kino has never been able to figure it out, implying that he is not the illegitimate child. And then Mel begins to figure it out, implying that perhaps she is that illegitimate child. And I I don't remember how she figures it out, but eventually Kino's voice starts to change, and it's very obvious that Kino is not Kino, but a Black Rose illusion used to interrogate Mel, and then she unleashes her power, and then that's all we see of Mel. So, uh, if I recall, like she unleashes, she has this surge of power, and then we haven't seen her since then.
so this part of the story I'm followed okay. There's another part of the story I'm confused on, and I'm just kind of along for the ride, and that's what's going on with Jace.
Yeah.
Sallow is the council member that we've been seeing that's in the wheelchair and addicted to Shimmer, and we now see that he has become one of the disciples of Victor.
And like that happened pretty fast because I think it was even like earlier in the episode whenever he was getting his shimmer treatment from his handmaiden.
Yeah.
And that I was that's where I was super confused because I'm like, did Jace travel through time? Like where
He's been gone for a while. He has a beard.
yeah,
I'm also confused. Where's Echo? Where's
where
Heimerdinger? What
yes.
are they all merged together? What is going on? Um,
But yes,
so
but essentially, and I guess we didn't mention that. But in episode 4, because of the absence of Jace, Echo, and Heimerdinger, Ambessa has basically been doing research on Hex Tech herself,
mhm.
to limited success.
Yeah, and so I was watching some videos on the game lore. This is beyond my understanding, but there's 6 different runes, and the last rune is confidence, and that when the girl that liked Victor got absorbed, she brought the last rune because she was talking about being confident or something when that happened, and so that's what made it complete because now he had all 6 runes. But again, that's beyond my understanding of the show.
Okay.
um, Yeah, but I've been watching Screen Crush. I think it's the name of the channel. They've been doing Easter egg recaps, and they kind of explain some of the game stuff that the show was not doing. But I
And
still don't.
I don't think that it's necessary. It's nice, but I think the show does stand on its own.
Yeah, yeah, but there's just some things where I'm like, okay, I don't understand how the hex stuff is working, you know.
Yeah.
And so there's obviously more lore there from the games. So I don't know if Jace is like he has seen visions of the future and he's trying to stop the hex tech, or some type of entity is controlling him. It's really hard to tell. Um, but he sees like he'll see visions of what people really look like for like a split second, and you can see the fingerprints of where Victor has touched them will be glowing. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
Um, so we see Jace just savagely kill Sallow. It's pretty brutal, but we also see that I don't know if they confirmed it, but I almost feel like his spirit probably lives on with Victor and the lab assistant girl. Like they're like on a higher plane now or whatever.
Yes, yes. By the way, lab assistant girl, her name is Sky.
Thank you. There's too many
Um,
characters. There's
yeah.
so many characters.
I mean, there's over how many champions are in the game? Like,
We made like a list of like 25 characters last week, and we still didn't list everybody in.
yeah.
So
Do you want to know what? Do you want to know is the funniest thing? I looked up who the original because apparently the game launched in like 2009 with only 13 champions.
mhm.
None of them are like the main characters of this show. Like apparently, I always thought that like Vi and Jinx were like the Scorpion and Sub Zero. They're the
Mhm.
OGs. They're the rivals. They were not in the original 13.
Right. Yeah. So let's get back to the good stuff. Warwick stops midair and we start having this Vander flashback. And I think this is the first time we've seen Jinx and Vi's mom. If
Yes,
I'm correct.
yes. Felicia.
Yeah. And she has like this relationship with Silco and Vander. Like they've almost like they've grown up together. Perhaps they've dated in the past, but it's a little flirtatious, but not really. Is it's just like they've known each other forever.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I I almost wondered if uh, if they were implying that Vander and I'm at this point 100% sure they're not, but there was like a part of me just in the middle of watching it at 1 in the morning that's like, wait, are they saying that Vander is Vi's actual dad? But no, no,
no,
he just offers up the name Violet.
right? Yeah, we do see the dad in another
Yeah.
flashback.
Yes.
So, um, yeah, so we finally get to see his relationship, and I don't think this is where we get the long flashback of him. That's later when they're healing him, where you have the longer flashback. Um, but yeah, so this is the moment where they all hug, and Warwick realizes, oh, these are my girls, and even Isha joins in on the hug, which I thought
I,
for a minute Warwick was going to attack Isha.
no, I mean I love the fact that so here's the thing. Um Isha is a character that was introduced in like the second episode of this season, and her hugging Vander as well, her being the third sister, within 4 episodes, it is completely earned. That is impressive, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, it was some good writing, a lot of good flashbacks with her and Jinx growing together, and yeah. So that's where we end episode 5. Let's jump into
Well,
episode
I
6.
mean, so we kind of did that out of order. It ends with Jace killing Sallow.
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
The message hidden within the pattern.
So again, it feels like we're jumping over parts of the story, but they have found out that there's a utopia, and they're taking Warwick there. to be healed. See if Victor can heal Warwick.
Yes, yes. And Singed, Ambessa, and Caitlin have tracked him to the Undercity, so they are en route as well.
Yeah,
So it's like I always say it's like Heroes, because Heroes did this really well, where you had like four or five different 4 or 5 different storylines that you would bounce between throughout the entire season, and then eventually it would all converge at like Kirby Plaza, New York City.
right. Yeah, so this is definitely where everything converges. They meet Victor. Victor, we're starting to realize, is limited in what he can do. Like every time he heals somebody, he's getting less and less powerful. Um, and we're seeing that Vander's mind is pretty much gone, so it's going to take a lot of work to try
Yeah.
to fix him.
But you know what? I do love the scene in it. My concern was it wasn't my concern, because I mean he technically is a bad guy in the games, but my theory was that he was going to be like a Manson style cult leader, um, but he seems to be more
As,
Jesus.
as far as we can tell, he's on the up and up, which
Yeah,
makes Jason's actions all the more weirder.
yeah, right, exactly. But so Sky, or well, so it's not Sky, but it is the hex core that has taken the form of Sky, that Victor communicates with. Says that even you have said that there are limitations, and Victor says, but he is worth it.
Hmm.
Which is great. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, and I like the imagery of them going in to Vander's mind, all the like faces screaming in agony and stuff, the different like wolf faces and stuff you can see in the
Mhm,
walls and stuff.
mhm. I also like the the imagery of like the silhouette of Vander amidst like the hex core art style, and then he is just raised above and then like hanging like Warwick was from the ceiling. If there's one thing about the show that I will always talk about, is the imagery and the animation.
Yeah,
The fact the fact that this show is super good too is just icing on the cake.
right, right. Um, so let's see. Victor says they're going to chain up Vander at night. And I
Mhm,
don't
yeah,
blame them.
yeah, yeah, and they didn't necessarily chain him up. He says the word restrain, and I initially thought chain, and I thought that was a little barbaric. But they put him in like this greenhouse looking thing, so it's
Yeah,
not completely inhumane.
yeah. So we see Ambessa's forces show up.
We see Aunt Bertha come.
Aunt Bertha shows up, and Singe is like, "Let me go talk to Victor first." And so he goes in, and we have a conversation between Singed and Victor, and
I thought that was a good conversation too.
yeah,
Um, you know what? I need to go back and watch season one, because I don't remember Singed having as much presence as he does in this season, and I wonder if I just missed something.
I think he's only really in like the last episode,
Okay.
if I recall. It's been a few years. But yeah, they have an interesting conversation about evolution and fate and all kinds of good stuff. And yeah, I really enjoyed their conversation. But Singe kind of alludes to, you're going to die, right?
Yeah.
This is not going to end well for you, Victor.
Well, not just that, but he also hints that he knows what happens when Victor dies, and
Hmm.
he also alludes to the fact that Victor knows what happens if Victor dies, which we see pretty much immediately after this.
Yeah. So when Singe leaves, Vi goes and follows him. She gets so suspicious. And then we see Caitlin attack Vi. They have a little fight, and then Vi calls her Cupcake. Um, And then the next thing we know, Vi has been tied up, being taken in to see
Hmm.
Ambessa.
Hmm. I think that the twist would have been like better um, had it not cut from "What are you doing here? I'm trying to save my dad." Because at that point, when she says that, we know that Caitlyn is gonna
Yeah, and to be fair, I did see the twist coming, but I was also heavily medicated at the time
right, yeah, yeah.
as well. So
From
I was
from
like, oh, okay.
from my perspective, I was like, okay, those restraints are loose or something like that. She's got a key.
Hmm.
I think it would have been better if like they hadn't said, "What are you doing here? I'm here to save my dad," and save that for the flashback.
Right. No,
Uh,
I agree. I agree.
yeah. Um, but that I mean that's nothing because I mean we find that I mean like the escape Vi's escape happens pretty much immediately after, so
Hmm.
it basically doesn't matter what order it's done in.
Right. We see that they stop Singe from doing whatever he was going to do, and Jace arrives, and he's starting to threaten to kill everybody in the town. He's like losing it. He almost kills a kid again. Again, that's a horrible thing to say about a person, but
Yeah,
he has killed kids before.
yeah. I One thing that I want to mention is that Ambessa's right hand Rictus
Hmm.
is also there, and I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for Warwick Vander to kind of like he's gotten a lot of grunts, right? I've been waiting for him to get somebody we know who deserves it, you know.
Hmm.
And I always thought it was going to be Ambessa, but the fact that it's Rictus, it feels just as good.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Rictus is like about to take out was it about to take out Jinx or Caitlyn? I can't remember, but
Yeah,
just knocks him out of the greenhouse.
yeah,
um, but yeah, you were saying about Jason Victor,
yeah. So Jace confronts Victor, and
which
we see.
I'm definitely curious as to what's going on with Victor as far as him being connected. Um, because I didn't know the layout is very of the commune is very confusing for me
Mhm.
because in some instances it feels like that orb is all it is, but in other instances it feels like that there is much more to it than that.
Right. Um, yeah, I think space and time don't really play by normal rules where they're at.
Right.
Uh, yeah, so we see that Jason's like, I gotta destroy the hex tech, and Victor's like, no, look what all we could do with it, and it just doesn't end well, and he strikes down Victor.
Yes. Uh,
Um,
with a giant Kamehameha from a hammer.
yeah, yeah,
This show is amazing.
yeah, and then he drops the gear that he had taken from Jinx, where one side's painted, one side's not, very much a two-faced coin rolling around, showing that there's two sides to everything. Um, and then we see that once, what do you say his name was? Rigus?
Rictus.
Rictus. Once he dies, Ambessa charges in and all heck breaks loose.
Yeah. Well, not that. So he doesn't die there. He is launched out
Mhm.
because he doesn't exactly die until so Victor dies, and then everyone who Victor has healed kind of has like a it's kind of like Invader of the Body Snatchers where like they start screaming. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, it's like someone turned off the power and everybody just falls
Yeah.
over.
So that happens, and then Vander fully becomes a volcanic Warwick. He is uncontrollable. He at this point he is fully gone, and he just rips Rictus to shreds. And that's when Rictus dies, and that's what I've been waiting for
Yeah.
since they revealed Warwick back in season 1.
Yeah, and that's probably why we didn't see him killed everybody in episode 4 because they were saving it.
Yeah.
So Jinx runs to him and he even hits Jinx. So he's like totally out of control. And we just see the chaos breaking out all over the place. And Isha, I don't know if she got. I was kind of confused where she got the gems from because there's a moment where she's looking at Vi's power gloves outside the city. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yes, yes. Uh, from what I can tell, Isha has one when we first meet her.
Mm-hmm.
Then she takes one uh, from Vi's gloves, and then I think she gets the third one from whenever. I think she gets the third one from Jinx actually, because Jinx, takes
Yeah.
out her rune.
Yeah. So we see she overloads the weapon. She cramps everything in there, and she goes running in. It slides in under Warwick, and then she looks back at Jinx and gives her the same, finger gun sign that Jinx gave to her when they met. And
And Vi and Caitlyn are essentially holding Jinx back so that way she doesn't get hurt. Although I imagine everyone got hurt here.
yeah, it's not great.
It's a
And
giant explosion.
and so this is kind of episode 3 of season 1 happening all over again, where Jinx was told to stay out of it. She did, and Vander died. And a lot of people died. The same thing is happening again, where there's this little girl that Jinx should have been being more protective of and saying, "Hey, stay out of this," and she didn't. And so we have this great tragedy. We get a great flashback. We kind of skipped over 2 major flashbacks. One was where Vander's memories of him training with Vi, and we see their mom and dad and all this cool stuff. That's a great scene. And then we see the scene of Jinx and Isha's relationship right before she dies, and then that's really good. And all throughout this, we're getting a speech from Victor about duality and the greater good, the greater evil, and kind of alluding to that, Jinx is capable of both, and we don't know which way she's going to go now.
So I will say, I think that Victor's physical body is destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
I do not think that Victor is gone.
Right. I don't either.
Okay. Just making sure we're on the same page there.
And we also know that Warwick is self-regenerative. So is he dead? We don't know. That's what I'll put him as a question mark. Most likely he's dead, but if all of a sudden he healed, especially if Victor turned back on and turned all the power back on, I could see that.
Yep. I also I don't know how close Ambessa was versus how close the 3 girls were, because I don't know if this is where Ambessa dies.
Well, I've seen the preview for the next episode, so I can't say anything.
Oh,
but
gotcha.
we have lots of questions now. We're going into the home stretch. These are the final 3 episodes. We got the Black Rose, we got Jace, and whatever's going on with him. Where's Heimerdinger and Echo? We've barely seen Echo this season,
which is a shame because he was a big character last season. He's one of the coolest characters in the game. He has his own solo game that's a Metroidvania, and he and Jinx had the coolest fight scene in last season with the pocket watch. So I definitely hope that we see more Echo. I'm also curious because I mentioned that game. I haven't played that game, so it's called Convergence. From what I can tell, though, whenever it first came out, at least, it was kind of about like the League of Legends multiverse getting reset. Um, to Because they wanted to make, from what I can tell, they wanted to make Arcane like canon, like the origin story.
Uh-huh.
And so a Convergence kind of helps do that. So I almost wonder if like Echo is gone and then go play Convergence and then come back to season 2. I don't know.
Yeah, and we also don't know if this show's gonna set up a different show. We just know this is the
Yeah.
final episode of Arcane, and there's
Yeah.
a whole lot more characters that they could be
Hmm.
telling stories about.
Yeah,
I
and
think I think this is the end of Divide and Jeek's story.
yes, yes. I do think that they have said that Arcane is like the entire show of Arcane is just chapter one of a larger universe that they're wanting to do.
Hmm.
Um, because like one of the bigger storylines in the League lore, and they've done books on it. They had like Convergence. They did an RPG about this. There's the Ruined King. The Ruined King is a big storyline. So they that might be next, is doing the Ruined King with Viego. But yeah, next this Saturday is going to be, it's going to be very bittersweet because it, it I have I can't think of a reason why they won't be able to stick the landing at this point.
Hmm.
So it's going to be fantastic. It's just going to suck that it's over.
Hmm.
And I will say that whenever we were watching Edge Runners and Arcane back to back last year, I said that I believe I said Edge Runners was better. As long as they can stick this landing, I'm going back on that. Arcane is better.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what's gonna happen with Jinx. That's my biggest question, and I'm really looking forward to it. But we'll be here next week to talk about it at 4 o'clock Eastern, right here on the Culture Sharks. Until then, I've been Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and we'll catch you next time in the Shark Pod.
See ya.